Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our presentation of managing expenses in tight months. My name is Alessandra and I will be presenting today. Great, I can see, okay, I can hear and see your screen. Awesome. Okay, this is our first Zoom webinar, so we're newbies at this technological thing, but hopefully everything will go smoothly. It looks like we're off to a good start. So my name is Alessandra. I will be presenting today. My colleague Ramel is also participating at this workshop and will answer your questions at the end of the presentation. You are all muted, so if you have questions, please use the chat box feature. At the bottom of your screen, click on chat and a box will open where you can type in your question. If you can also please type in your city, county, or state where you're calling from, we would love to know where everyone is from. We have 40-minute limit today. The presentation is about 30 minutes, and we will take the remaining time to answer as many questions as possible. For those people whose questions we cannot get to, we will email everyone the answers to all the questions sometime next week. We're also uploading handouts on the chat box. If you're unable to see them or download them, please email us and we will be happy to send them to you. Our last slide has our contact information. All right, so let's get to our topic. Really quickly about us, Habitat East Bay Silicon Valley serves people in Alameda, Contra Costa, and Santa Clara counties through 3 programs. First, we offer affordable homeownership opportunities. We build new homes and renovate existing homes and sell them at an affordable mortgage to qualified families with limited income. We also offer housing counseling services. Our housing counseling program is certified by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And through one-on-one counseling, we provide help to people who want to learn strategies for budgeting, income and expenses, or maybe savings, managing debt and credit repair, credit building, or improving their credit score. For people whose goal is homeownership, we can help them prepare to reach their goal. And we also offer financial education workshops and the 8-hour first-time homebuyer class. Through our owner-occupied home repair services, our home preservation program provides grants and low-interest loans for low-income homeowners throughout our service area. But today we're going to be covering how to assess your financial situation, how to create a spending plan, how to manage expenses in tight months, dealing with debt collectors, and the last slide would touch briefly on assistance programs specific to people impacted by COVID-19. Our handouts have more information, and we also provide this information on our website. There are some common budget busters that impact the ability to stay on top of bills and expenses. Now, emergencies, we do not have control over them, but they happen and we need to be prepared. For example, a medical bill, a car repair, or a loss of income. Now, the only way to prepare is to have an emergency fund in place. And at minimum, you should have the equivalent of 3 months worth of net income saved. Now, if a 3-month goal seems impossible, don't give up. Start with the smaller goal, but make saving a priority. ATM, bank fees, and late payments, these are costs that were charged if we overdraft from the bank account or pay bills late, like rent, credit card, loan payments. In addition, we may be charged interest, which means the monthly payments will increase and then become even less affordable. Periodic expenses, these are due every 6 months or a year. If you do not plan, you risk not having enough available to cover the cost or pay the bill. Fast food seems like a cheap way to eat, but the $10 you spend, if you spend it on groceries instead, it can feed you for more than 1 meal. And cash, typically these are smaller purchases, for example, bottled water, snacks, coffee, drinks from the local coffee shops. Because they're small amounts, we think they do not add up to much, but they do. Many handouts, it's often hard to say no to a family member or friend in need. We feel that if we say no to and ask for help, it means we're being selfish. But if you depend on that money to cover your expenses, you need to carefully consider whether helping them winds up hurting you. Let's go over some budgeting tips. Track your expenses by category throughout the month and write down your costs for each. If you do not, you will play a guessing game of what you spent and never be in control of where your money is going. Now, the best way to track expenses is using your receipts because they itemize the things you buy. For example, let's say you go to the supermarket and buy food, but also buy medicines and get cash back. If you track using the total you spent, you will not have an accurate picture where your money went. But if you break the receipt total down into the separate total cost for each category, you will know exactly how you spent your money. And set up auto payments, for example, rent, car payment, credit card payment. It will help you avoid missing a payment or paying late and get charged costly fees. And make sure you're saving every month to cover future or periodic expenses, for example, the car insurance or back to school cost, holiday season cost, gift giving. And check your statements. Make sure the expenses reconcile with your records. Financial institutions can make mistakes. For example, did you get the chargeback for a returned item? And checking statements will also help alert you to any fraudulent activity. Now, to help you make sound spending choices, it's important to have a clear idea what your financial priorities are. This will help you identify which expenses you must prioritize and which you should reduce or perhaps eliminate altogether. Now, expenses can be defined as needs and wants. Your needs are your must expenses that you need in order to stay housed, live, and protect income. For example, rent or mortgage payment, utilities, food, transportation costs to work, childcare. Also, legal obligations like child support, alimony, and student loans. These can have serious legal consequences, but could also impact income. We will talk more about it in a little bit. Your wants are you would like to have expenses, things you do not need to live. They add quality to your life, but you can survive without them. For example, going out to eat, going to the movies, out with friends, cell phone plans with unnecessary features. These and wants also differ. Your need may be a want for someone else. For example, John can get to work by public transportation, so he does not need to take on the cost of owning a car. But Maria evaluated all possible transportation methods and needs a car to get to work, so she needs to make that cost work within her budget. But within that need, there are also wants. Other than making sure the car is reliable, she does not need the newest, more expensive model. Now, wants are neither good nor bad, but to be able to successfully stay on top of your finances, you'll need to balance them. Um, but now, before you can make a plan on how you will cover your expenses, you need to have a clear picture of how much net income per month you can count on and what your expenses and debt obligations are. So you need to assess your overall financial situation. First, calculate the net monthly income you receive from all reliable sources, jobs, monthly benefits, stipend. Then list all your expenses by category and their monthly cost, and include your fixed expenses. These are your mortgage, your rent, your medical insurance premiums, fixed debt payments like car loans. These are expenses that don't change from month to month. They're easier to track, but harder to adjust. Then list your variable expenses, things like utilities, food. They change their cost, changes month to month depending on how you use it. They're harder to track, but these are typically easier to adjust. And then don't forget to list your discretionary, also known as wants expenses. For example, going out to eat, charitable giving, personal expenses like manicures, and list all your debts. List your credit card accounts, your loans, and how much you have to pay each month on each. For credit cards, use the minimum payment amount required based on the balance you're carrying, not the amount you're paying. Maybe you're paying a little bit over that because you want to pay it down faster. For budgeting purposes initially and to assess your financial situation, use the minimum payment required. And then don't forget, again, those periodic expenses, your auto home insurance, your property taxes, holiday back to school spending. Calculate the periodic cost and how much you need to save per month to make sure you can cover it when it becomes due. Now, once you have an overall picture of your financial situation, the next step is to create your monthly spending plan. So first, create a bill payment calendar. Write down when your bills are due and how much you have to pay, and then figure out which bills you pay to pay with which paycheck. Now, this process will help you plan to make sure you have enough money to pay your bills when they're due, and also avoid paying bills late and be charged late payment fees. Then before the month ends, you create the next month's spending plan. You write it down so you can keep referring to it, and you make saving a priority. So first include an amount that goes to savings every month, just as if you were paying a bill. You allocate an amount that becomes part of your month's spending plan. Then you allocate income starting with your must expenses, again, that protect housing, preserve income, your utilities, your food, your legal obligations. Anything left before you even start thinking of your wants, allocate maybe to debt payments. Maybe pay those credit card balances faster by paying a little bit more than your minimum payment, or add more to savings. And track your expenses. During the month, look at your, using the spending plan as a guide. Make sure that you're staying on track. You may need to do this daily, weekly, depending on your situation, but tracking them will help you know exactly where you spent your money and also give you time to readjust. For example, let's say you allocated $250 to groceries, and on week 2, you find that you've already spent $200 and still have 2 weeks to go. So this means you will need to adjust or cut other expenses to make sure you end up the month budget positive. So for example, you decide you will not go out to eat anymore for the rest of the month, and then use that allocated amount to cover the cost for groceries. But what if you find your expenses exceed your monthly income? What can you do? Well, first look for and adopt cost-cutting strategies. Keeping in mind your priorities, your wants and needs, identify all the expenses that fall lower on your list of priorities and you can reduce or cut. Now, keep in mind, spending $4 less per day adds up to $121 per month, or almost $1,500 a year. That's money that can help cover a high priority expense like rent, health insurance, or car insurance. So get creative, cut non-essential expenses, membership you do not need or use, like your gym membership or streaming services, going out to eat. Find ways to lower your bills, eliminate a home phone, get rid of cable, change to a lower cost data plan on your cell phone. Find ways to reduce wasteful spending. For example, for birthdays and holidays, instead of buying a gift, make a card or bake a cake instead. And find ways to reduce essential expenses. For example, look at your food cost and cut back by eating out less and making a weekly meal plan based on coupons and grocery deals you find. And check with your providers to see if you qualify for low-cost programs for essential services like utilities, cell phone, prescription drugs. Many of them offer such programs. And look for free services. Reach out to organizations that offer services that can help cover costs like food, clothes, such as food pantries, clothes closets. There are also free tax preparation services. And borrow instead of buying from a friend or a neighbor a kitchen appliance you do not use often, like a blender or maybe yard tools. You can then return the favor with something they need later on. But cutting costs may not be enough, so you may need to find also a way to supplement the money that's coming in. Now, income is any money that you receive, even if it is not a steady monthly source. That can be periodic, for example, seasonal work, temp jobs. It can be one time, like gifts or a tax refund or proceeds from selling things you do not need. And it can be in the form of assistance, for example, benefits, cash aid, food stamps. Irregular income can help cover an expense like a car repair, pay off debt, build an emergency fund. If you need to bring in more money every month, find ways to supplement it. Take a part-time job. A few hours a week can help cover an essential expense like utilities. Offer services, yard work, teach a second language, tutor, house or pet sit for people who work or travel. If you're retired, get paid to give back. There are some programs that if you do community service, when you do community service, they provide a stipend, for example, senior course. If your rental contract allows it, rent a room. There are some house sharing programs out there. Typically, they're for homeowners. There's one that Catholic Charities in Santa Clara County offers that help you connect with a renter. But Google house sharing programs in your county or your city. They're all different, so Google them and see if your county or city offers them and what their parameters are. Sell items you no longer use at a yard sale. Use consignment store. They'll take clothes, furniture, household items. Obviously, Craigslist. A lot of people use that. Are you paying for storage where you're keeping stuff you do not need? Sell the stuff in the storage so you're left only with the things you can keep at home, and close the storage. Not only will you make money from the sales, you will no longer have to pay storage rent and free up money to cover bills. Ask money for gifts, gift cards, cash for birthdays, holidays. Instead of getting more stuff, use the money to cover expenses, pay a bill, add to an emergency savings, pay down debt. And reach out for public assistance. Check if you qualify for cash aid, food stamps, Social Security benefits, unemployment, healthcare. Now, some months can be particularly tough, as we know. This period is really, really tough for a lot of people. An emergency medical expense, a reduction in income, or job loss, a lot of that is going on right now. So ideally, you have an emergency savings you can tap into and still be able to pay essential expenses and debt obligations. This is why adding to savings every month and building an emergency savings is so important. It will ensure that when the unpredictable happens, you are prepared. But if you do not have one, depending on your situation, you will need to either reduce or eliminate some expenses. So first, list all your bills and expenses by priority so you can identify which you must cover to protect housing and income. Then cut as many non-essential and variable expenses, even just a little bit. You'd be surprised at how much a few dollars saved here and there can add up. Of course, all bills are important, and ideally you want to keep on schedule with all of them. But if to get through the month, you must choose which to pay, rotating bills payments can help you avoid losing your car or a house or having utilities shut off. While this is not an ideal situation, it can be a short-term fix while you figure out a longer-term solution. But always, always weigh the risk and consequences of not paying a bill right now. If you must miss a payment, call the creditor right away and tell them why. They may be willing to make a repayment arrangement or change the due date so it lines up with your payday or benefit schedule. If you have been impacted by COVID-19, financial institutions offer additional relief, like allowing to reduce or delay payments, waiving fees and charges, also waiving penalties for early CD withdrawals. So reach out to your financial institution and see what kind of relief they offer. And seek help. Some organizations offer one-time rent or utility payment assistance. You can also contact a certified housing counselor. They offer specialized assistance and can help you build a plan that allows you to stay on top of your bills and expenses. Now, if you have to delay payment or skip bills, how do you decide which you should cover and which can wait? Individual circumstances are unique, but typically give higher priority to expenses that help you stay housed. Again, your rent, your mortgage, your property taxes, HOA if you own your home, that keep your utilities connected, and that ensure your income is protected. Transportation cost to work includes car payment, gas, car insurance, public transportation, uh, car maintenance, car repairs, any costs that go with your car, childcare, because if you can't drop your child off to childcare, you can't go to work. And maintain your medical and car insurance coverage. If you have a medical emergency, you want to make sure your costs are covered. Plus, it is required in California, and you will have to pay a penalty if you don't. Also, you cannot drive a car in California without insurance, and some jobs even require it. If you work for a delivery service, you would be in breach of contract if your car insurance is not up to date. Now, to keep you out of financial or legal trouble, payments like child support, alimony, student loans, tax liens, and court-ordered Chapter 13 bankruptcy payments that might incur financial or legal penalties or even get your wages garnished. So these are, again, they can impact also income if you don't keep up with your obligations. So these are very, very important. Lower priority are unsecured debts like credit cards, medical bills. Although they are important, if you are forced to choose between paying rent or making a credit card payment, you will need to prioritize your need for housing. Even if you have collection accounts, unless you're being sued, don't forgo paying a higher priority bill to pay a debt collector. But don't ignore the bills you can't pay for too long because it can have credit, financial, and legal consequences. Now, of course, non-essential services like cable, Netflix, Hulu are lowest on the list. Now, if you have debts that have gone into collection, don't ignore them. But before you agree to pay them, you need to gather information. Now, the age of the debt determines the statute of limitations. That's the period during which you can be sued. This period can restart if you admit to owning it or agree on a payment. So if you're not sure you owe it, do not pay or admit to it until you've verified it is yours. Get more information. You can ask over the phone or mail a letter. You want to get the collector's name, their address and phone number, the original creditor's name, their address and account number, the amount owed, and also when the account became delinquent with the original creditor, and when the collector obtained the debt and the amount it was then. If you verify that you owe it, don't panic. You at least know what you're dealing with and you have options. Before you agree to a repayment, confirm the total you owe. Interest may be added to the amount the collector bought the debt for, so you want to know the total you owe. And then negotiate, work out a repayment that fits your budget. Make sure you have the funds to pay. If you do not pay, you risk restarting the statute of limitation period. Also, settlement offers expires. And keep in mind, collection agencies may not be willing to negotiate, so you need to be ready to pay the full amount owed. Once you've negotiated, ask for written confirmation on what you and the collection agency agreed you will pay. Send the money only after you receive that confirmation letter, and do not pay with money orders or cashier's check. There's no proof they cashed it, so pay with the check if at all possible. Mail payment with delivery confirmation and request the collection agency send you a receipt acknowledging that the account has been cleared and that you have a zero balance owed. And keep records, paper trail, notes about phone conversations. You need to keep track of all of this. If the debt is not yours, mail a dispute letter right away. If you wait, you may lose your ability to dispute it. And if you're sued by a debt collector, be sure to respond to court documents. If you don't, the court will usually assume you agree with what the creditor says and issue a judgment against you. You may want an attorney to advise you at the hearing if you get sued. And know your rights. Debt collectors can't engage in unfair practices. They can't harass, use abusive language, threaten you, lie to you, discuss your debt with anyone but you, your spouse, or your attorney. And watch out for scam debt collectors. A real debt collector will answer all your questions, including their address and contact number. So you can use this information to look them up to verify online. They will send you a written debt validation letter within 5 days of initially contacting you. They will tell you the name of the original creditor you owe money to, and they will work with you to determine the best way to pay off your debt, even arrange payments over a period of time. If you suspect you're talking to a scam debt collector, stop speaking to the caller, contact the original creditor, and ask who has the right to collect it. Now, you can report any problems you have with a debt collector to your state attorney's general office, the Federal Trade Commission, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, the benefits that are available to people impacted by COVID-19, both at the federal and state level and from financial institution, is an ever-evolving situation. But let's go over some general information about unemployment benefits. Through the CARES Act, jobless benefits have been boosted to provide up to 39 weeks of benefits available to people who lost a job or income due to COVID-19. Now, workers who do not qualify for unemployment insurance, like self-employed or independent contractors, are eligible for the pandemic unemployment assistance. All claimants who qualify for unemployment insurance will receive an additional $600 a week in emergency federal compensation, and this is through July 31st, 2020. So for example, if someone is receiving an unemployment insurance payment of $340 a week, their biweekly payment equals $680. But if they're unable to work because they're sick or quarantined due to COVID-19, and this must be certified by a medical professional, they will receive an extra $600 a week payment. So this means that their biweekly payment would increase to $1,880. A California executive order temporarily halts eviction for renters, slows foreclosures for homeowners through a 90-day grace period for mortgage payments, and also protects against critical utility shutoffs for those affected by COVID-19. So contact your landlord, financial institution, and utility company if you're impacted and need payment relief. Now, the best way to keep up to date with the latest news regarding COVID-19 related assistance is to visit the USA.gov website for federal benefits and covid19.ca.gov for state benefits. You can also check our website for more details. Now we are at the end of our presentation, and I will turn it over to Ramel so he can answer all the questions in the chat box. If you cannot see or download the handouts in the chat box, this is our contact information. Please reach out and we will be happy to email them to you. If you would like to meet with a HUD housing counselor, you can find a list on the HUD website. We are an approved housing counseling agency, and you can contact us directly if you would like to meet with us. At this time, we're only offering phone appointments, but when we're able to offer in-person appointments, we will schedule them at our office. So please connect with the counselor that is closer to you. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. We will be offering more and on other topics, so please check our website for upcoming dates.